C-Bus.
Hey there, I wanted to make a quick video because I get this question a lot. So behind me you'll see that there's a large maple tree. And if you notice, I just finished fertilizing this lawn, and you'll find that there's good grass underneath the maple tree. People ask me all the time, or I should say they tell me a lot, that they can never get grass to grow under their trees. Shade is a tough situation, but I'm going to show you here how you can be more successful with seed in the shade, and talk about a few things there. So let's look around the back here. Now the situation we come into as we come around the back, you'll notice is there's another large tree. And you can see that underneath this tree there's still really good grass. Now in between the arborvitaes here and the tree, that gets no shade, no direct sun, pretty much any time of the day because of the tree. So what we'll find is that in the late summer, right now it's middle of June, and we'll find that in the late summer this area does thin out a bit, but we try to keep good grass in this area. You might be saying, oh, what kind of grass do you use here? Do you have some sort of special shade mix? Well, no, actually this is probably one of the worst types of grass that you can actually normally use in the shade. And what I mean by that is this is a bluegrass rye blend, what you'll see here. And let me tell you how we managed to get the blue rye blend here. Next thing you might think is that this lawn that we fertilize, it's a nice looking lawn. You would probably think that maybe it has irrigation. Well, you're wrong again. This lawn is non-irrigated. It's a bluegrass lawn, and it's got multiple trouble spots. When I say trouble spots, I mean shade. Like for instance, you can look back over here and see that under the pine trees, it's got a large area where there's a lot of shade. And now I won't say this is perfect grass back here, but generally when you're under evergreens and you have shade, that's a double whammy for trying to grow grass. And what you'll find is that we do have a good stand of grass through there. Through the whole shaded area, actually, we have a good stand of grass through there. So there's a couple options when you have, areas with a lot of shade or trouble spots. Normally, if somebody's tried to seed it, a lot of times, I'll tell them to switch types of grass. Because like I said, bluegrass is not the best type of turf to have in the shade. However, you might transition over to something like a turf-type tall fescue when you have a situation like this. Now, if you don't want to lose your bluegrass lawn, and it looks too nice for you, the biggest problem that you have in an area like this is obviously environmental factors. And it's partly the shade, but a lot of it really is the moisture. We've been lucky this spring. We've had a lot of natural rain. Even into June now, we're still getting rain, every couple days we're getting a little bit of rain, a couple tenths of an inch or, something like that every 2 or 3 days. Well, that goes to show you that grass will survive underneath shade if it has lots of moisture. So the best thing you can do for your grass in a shady spot is one, possibly change varieties of grass. But the biggest environmental factor is not always the shade, it's usually the moisture. A large tree like this will have a lot of surface roots, and those surface roots make it tough for the grass to root properly. They can't get deep roots. Also, the tree that's above it, you'll find that you'll get spots like this because right there's a surface root. And if you were to aerate around this tree, which I have multiple times, you'll find that there are a lot of roots all along the surface, and there's very little topsoil for the grass to grow in. Well, those roots not only cannot root deeply, which makes it tough for the grass to sustain through the hot parts of the year. So really what you're looking at here is a moisture problem more than a shade problem. So hopefully, if you're trying to keep your grass going underneath a tree, a couple things you can think about are, one, do frequent watering in that area so the area stays moist, because the tree roots, they want to rob the moisture. They want to consume the area where the grass roots would be. Also, you can consider switching to a blend where there's some turf type tall fescue. What I usually don't recommend in a shade area is a fine fescue or chewing fescue shade mix that you'll find at a lot of big box stores. The reason I don't recommend that is in shade mix, those grasses are very fine and very fragile. So what you'll find is that as soon as you get the drought that we're talking about in the middle of the summer, you know, it might look great in March, April, May, but as soon as you get to, say, late June, July, August, early September, and it's dry, at the first sign of heat and drought, those shade mixes would die almost instantly. Where a turf type tall fescue isn't necessarily a shade grass. Most of the time it will say full sun on the label. However, what happens is that it's better at your heat tolerance and your drought resistance than Kentucky bluegrass and all shade mixes are. So that's why a lot of times I'll recommend a turf type tall fescue in a situation like this, where there's a tall tree and there's shade, and sometimes you'll never get any sun through the whole day. So hopefully you can keep that in mind, and maybe that'll help you decide to put some water on it through the hot months of the year. And if you can keep more consistent moisture in your shaded areas, I think you'll have better results with your grass than maybe you have in the past. Even if you have an irrigation system, I find that we'll try to run those zones more frequently than we run the rest of the lawn. The rest of the lawn we might run every 2 or 3 days. In the shaded area, we'll try to run that every day. That way we can keep a good stand of grass. So remember, shade is only part of the problem. Sunshine is part of the problem. But heat and drought are a big factor on the problem. So hope that helps. Hey, keep watching, subscribe to my channel. I'll keep sharing some tips with you.